Hey, MotoAmerica fans, this is Jake Gagne. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the MotoAmerica YouTube channel for more coverage, and like, comment. Let's go.
It's time for the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. Round 7 of 9 for 2021 from Pittsburgh International Race Complex in Waupun, Pennsylvania. It's MotoAmerica Superbikes at Pittsburgh. Welcome to SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior Cup. I'm Greg White, standing alongside Jason Pridmore, two-time champ. Now, Jason, this is our 13th race of 20 for the season, and this class has been entertaining.
Yeah, we've seen multiple winners, but we've seen Benjamin Gloddy and Ty Scott pretty much dominate the season. They've been trading race wins, and there's definitely a rivalry brewing, but we've got some other kids that keep getting closer and putting themselves in the mix. Race 2 from Brainerd International Raceway was entertaining, Jason, and really it could blow this championship wide open. Well, we came from Laguna Seca where Ty Scott and Ben Gloddy had their own way. In race 1 at Brainerd, it was much the same. But when we got to race 2, we saw Maxwell Toth, we saw Gus Rodeo, and Cody Wyman all join that party. And this is what it looked like for nearly the whole race. Everybody was swapping back and forth and trying to get that all-important victory. When they came to the line, though, it was Ty Scott getting the nod there and taking over this points lead and pulling away a little bit. Gloddy had won race 1, and just by getting second, it basically would have been a wash, but Cody Wyman, who slots himself in there, as you can see, Gloddy gets 25 points, but it's that 16 when he gave up those 4 points to Cody Wyman that could make the difference in this championship. Cody Wyman had a great run at it, so we had Hannah go talk to Cody.
Cody, we've already seen you race to a victory earlier in the season. Last round at Brainerd, back on the podium once again. With only 6 races left this season, what's it going to take for you to get back on that top step?
Yeah, it felt great to get back on the podium and be fighting for a win. And you know, we've had a really consistent season. You know, we haven't really had too many issues, but you know, the championship is coming down towards the end, and really I'm just going to put it all out there and try to get some wins. Let's get more aggressive these last 3 rounds and just have a good time.
Cody Wyman's chasing number 70, Tyler Scott, who's looking for another win.
Robbie Floyd and Roger Hayden here with you as you see a meditating Ty Scott. Hey, look at that haircut. He got it all clean, fresh and clean now, looking good.
He got her trimmed up. Was talking about the last race. We was wondering what he was doing, raising the shield. His hair was getting in his eyes. He got her all tuned up now, though.
I'll be getting ready for school. You know, everybody got to get their hair cut before they head back to school. My kids, one of them started last week, one starts this week. Ben Gloddy, you know, he's kind of running that baseball look. Got a little mullet going there on the Landers Racing Kawasaki. Rocco, look at Rocco gets on the podium. He's in there going to tell him how to go fast again. Look at that. But he does know how to go fast here, by the way. Rocco Landers does. And you wanted to point out Cody Wyman, one of the ones to look for. You said he's been here a time or two doing some riding schools, and you think he could be one that could give him a shot for the title?
I think so. He's, you know, especially for today, you know, the podium. I think he's been fast all week, and a track that he obviously likes a lot. So I think for sure he's one of the guys that can be in the podium battle. He just needs to get a good start and not get caught up in that battle behind, and go with the 2 guys in the front.
Kermoto Madden Painting, the rider to your left, Gus Rodeo. He did not go out there for Q2 as well, but Joe Lamandry Jr. out of New York. We head towards his neck of the wood, the Boss Racing, CyberSafe Solutions, JL62 Racing, Kawasaki. Lamandry going to qualify in that 6th spot. You just need those first couple of rows, but how big is the drafting going to play a part here today? Because there are a few straightaways. Were they the good ones that you can really tuck behind other than this front?
There'll be a few, the draft up the front straight, and then also headed end up to turn 3 from 2. I think the draft will play in effect, so he just needs to get a good start. He's been fast in practice, and I think he'll have a good race.
The things you saw, the big downhills and uphills and stuff like that, whenever you have the uphill in these smaller bikes, I mean, you got to get a good run. Going to be robbing the horsepower of these Kawasaki's, KTM, and Yamahas. Let's get ready for the juniors next.
Welcome back to Pitt Race in Waupun, Pennsylvania, preparing for the start of the SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior Cup class, a series that Jason talked about before has been very entertaining this season. One of the riders that we've kept an eye on is the number 29 of David Colstad, who's 5th in the championship, Jason. He's had a great season with 6 podium finishes.
Yeah, and you said it, Greg, 6 podium finishes. He's probably the fastest guy that has not won a race yet. That said, he has mixed it up with all the guys that have. So look for the 29 to try to get one of those wins by the end of the year.
So Colstad, like Jason said, is the fastest guy without a win so far this season. So we sent Hannah down to talk to David.
Greg, for David Colstad, being only his second season in our Junior Cup class, is having quite a breakout year. We've seen you on the podium numerous times so far this season. What do you attribute to that success this year?
Definitely the team being behind me and my riding style. I've improved a lot since last year and been working harder to improve everything I can to perfect even the smallest detail. And it's paying off this year. It's quite a few podiums, so I'm definitely loving that. And now all I want to think about is that top, and I realize it ain't going to be easy for sure.
With 3 rounds left, you have 6 more opportunities to try and get that win. What's it going to take?
Definitely going to take so much more hard work, so much more dedication and more pushing on the track and more risk. And I'm ready to take that. I'm feeling comfortable. I know the bike's going to be moving around. I'm not expecting a solid bike, and it's just going to the way it's going to be with these guys pushing as hard as they are. So I think I'm going to do everything I can to do the exact same.
Well, best of luck out there. And Greg, this class has been so competitive all season long. The question is, will David Colstad be able to get that elusive first win here this weekend?
Well, that is a good question. And can he do it here at this spectacular racetrack? Pitt Race, Jason, 2.78 miles of total fun.
Has to be such a fun ride for these guys on these small bikes. Turn 1, tricky. Turn 3 is a good passing spot on that run up there right in front of all these great fans that we're going to see. Down to turn 5 up a big steep hill into those S's, Greg. Turn 14 here, maybe one of the most technical turns we have. Tip into that corner without actually even seeing the apex. Down into that chicane area. Last corner is the last ditch effort. Then it goes back uphill and then a run down to that finish line that you can see on our screen.
What a difficult track to tune a motorcycle to. It throws everything at you. When we come back, we're going to get this race going. Can Ben Gloddy snatch another win here at Pitt Race?
As the riders go out on their reconnaissance mission to check out this track, and it looks probably a little different than they saw it earlier today. It was a little cooler temperatures and definitely not as much rubber out there on the ground. Roger Hayden. Let's talk about some of the riders we're going to be looking at. And one I want to point out, and going to start in 11th place, the 31 of Kayla Yaakov. Wasn't old enough to actually start our season, I believe, but she's been on a pretty good roll this year. In 11th in championship points, she has a chance to move up into the top 10 today.
Yeah, got a couple top 10s already this season, and I talked to her this afternoon after her qualifying, and she's feeling really good for the race today. She's going to focus on getting a good start and try to stay with that group in front of her.
Bart Kahn Racing Kawasaki, and also the 92 of Eli Block out of Connecticut, Team ECB Racing. Young gun, new to the sport. He's looking good, too, in the top 10.
Hasn't did the whole series, but he's looking good today.
Absolutely. Eli Block, one to look for. The 92, a lot of riders to look for in this one in the juniors.
Today's STG Junior Cup coverage is sponsored by Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car or motorcycle insurance. By SportbikeTrackGear.com, the motorcycle apparel and parts specialists. And by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Back on a beautiful day here at Pitt Race. A look at your starting grid. Benjamin Gloddy on pole at 155.4.
Then we have Ty Scott, Cody Wyman rounding out row number 1. Back to row 2, we had Colstad, Gus Rodeo, Lamandry. Then we have Roach, Block of Williams. Vanderbroek, Kayla Yaakov, and Bickness are going to be just there on row 4. Kayla's putting in some air miles right now.
Yep.
Spencer Humphreys, Blake Davis, Chase Black, Avery Dreyer, Pedersen, Essman, row 6. Alex Reese is going to be back there on row number 7, Greg. I think for Ben Gloddy, he's got to try to keep this little bit of momentum that he has up. He had a pretty solid Brainerd, lost some points in race 2. But this race here, he's got pole position, and see what he can do.
All right, so warm-up lap complete. Riders forming up the grid for the start of race number 1 in the SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior Cup class. It's been a battle as of late between 15-year-old Tyler Scott and 16-year-old Benjamin Gloddy. The heat of the day is bringing the heat on the racetrack, and here we go when the lights go out. SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior Cup is underway, and a great start from the 70, Ty Scott.
Yeah, he got the start he needed as Colstad tries to get up underneath Gloddy into turn number 1. It's not going to happen. Gus Rodeo gets a good run. Cody Wyman also, you're going to be 3 wide as they go up over the top of that little rise. And you can see Ty Scott is being defensive already going up into turn 3. Smart move from him. He doesn't want to let anybody sneak up underneath him. He wants to try to get a good, clear track on his first lap. You see these riders filtering down through turns 3 and 4.
Boy, Ty Scott has just got the start nailed on that KTM.
Yeah, no
Gloddy
question.
using a little more racetrack to try to get some momentum and drive himself up the hill. So this first lap going to tell us quite a bit in terms of who's got what set up. And a move, oh, it looked like a move was being made.
And it seems like every weekend, Greg, we get a guy in third who's going to be the guy who's going to try to chase him. And this weekend, Colstad looks like he's that guy. He wants to try to get up there with those two. As you see, Gus Rodeo, Cody Wyman, another one who we heard in pre-race say that he doesn't really have anything to lose at this point. Championship sounded like it's getting a little bit out of touch, so he just wants to try to get the best results he can. I believe that's Lamandry Jr. there. Is
yeah,
that,
it looks like,
yep.
Yeah. It looks like Joseph Lamandry Jr. Ooh, it looks like Cody Wyman had a bit of a moment in the inside curve. He's going to make a move around Rodeo. So the 34 trying to work his way up through the field and not let David Colstad get away with this one. Same thing with Ben Gloddy and Ty Scott. Colstad's looking really good. We heard at the top of the show him talk about work all the time to try to close the gap to those leaders.
And these guys really, they can't mess around with each other too much. I think that gap is pretty manageable to those front two, unlike what we have seen at Laguna and race 1 at Brainerd. So these guys got to get somewhat organized, not mess with each other too much, and try to close this gap to those front two. And Gloddy's done a nice job to kind of stay on the back of Ty Scott. He had Greg, what, 0.8 of a second, I believe, in qualifying, as it looks like Gloddy makes that pass as they roll up into turn 3. Lamandry Jr. looking up underneath Cody Wyman. So all 3 of them have got by Colstad in that run up to turn 3.
New race leader, Ben Gloddy. From pole position will take over the top spot. Ty Scott did a 157.6 from a dead stop. He did a 156.2 in qualifying. So the pace is ripping out front. Of course, track conditions probably the best they've been all weekend. Side by side they go.
I thought Ty Scott had him there, and he just didn't. Gloddy just let off the brakes and turned it in and is able to keep that pace. This is where being a little bit bigger guy on some of these smaller bikes can really benefit you through all these little S sections. You can load the bike a lot different, and for Gloddy, I'm sure that's going to be something good for him. It looked a little further back, like Lamandry is up to third somehow, so we'll have to see what's gone on with those guys.
Yeah, it looked like Wyman had an unfortunate, looked like he ran off the track a couple corners ago. I saw it at the corner of the screen. Okay. Hannah, what you got going on?
Yeah, just talking about Ben Gloddy taking over that lead. I spoke to him and he said being on pole position this weekend, it's not a need to have, but it's a nice to have, and it definitely gives him some confidence heading into the race. They didn't make any big changes to the bike because he wouldn't have been able to test them in this morning's conditions. A lot of the riders kind of just rode around. Some of them sat out because it was so damp this morning that it wouldn't have made a big difference what they were able to work on. Ultimately, he'd like to pull away, but if he's not able to, he knows that he can utilize the draft on the front straightaway. He likes the chicane a lot.
Yeah, sorry, Hannah. It looks like we have Cody Wyman down on the edge of the racetrack. So, you know, I saw him go out of screen. I don't know if this was the incident. It seemed like it was kind of a while ago. But for Benjamin Gloddy, who's out front, so corner workers rushing over to take a look at Cody Wyman.
It looks like maybe the outside of turn 11, Greg. I'm just guessing right now. I can't see it, but the way the bike is and how the direction they're walking him off the track could be the turn 11 area, and you can see the bike is just off the edge of the track, it seemed.
Yeah, they're going to have to go get that bike for this race to continue. 8 laps to go. Ben Gloddy leading a 56.1 for Gloddy over Tyler Scott and Joe Lamandry Jr., Gus Rodeo, David Colstad, Jack Roach, Kayla Yaakov, your running order.
So we'll have to start looking for those yellow flags, Greg, to get a complete idea of where that is. And Gloddy still has that point position here up at the front as they roll in through these S's. There's the bike, Greg. So it was right in the middle of the S's. So wherever you saw him run off, it looked like it was just maybe a couple corners past that.
Yeah, maybe he was able to gather it back up and then just couldn't get it. So Looks like race action will continue as things are nice and fast up front. But the question is the third, fourth, and fifth, are they closing in on these race leaders currently? You can see them back there. It doesn't look like much, and here we go. Another pass. Side by side they go towards the chicane, and Gloddy's going to have it late on the brakes. So side by side, it looked like Tyler Scott would try to get position, but Jay, as we know from races that have happened earlier this weekend, the chicane is not someplace you want to mess around, because if you get it wrong and you have to run wide, it's going to be a 5-second penalty. Yeah, it's a harsh penalty. I think, you know, when you start to look at what's actually going on down there, it's a very tight entry for these guys, and it's a hard spot so to make any passes. And so we'll see these other three. I got my eye on Lamandry Jr. He's doing a tremendous job. 56 flat. That young Gus Rodeo actually went 56 flat. Sorry, but Lamandry Jr. looked like he was up into that third spot. And here we go. This is as they come out of turn 14. They got this run down. Ty Scott looks like he's going to go past in the kink here. And it looks at this point like he's got that running momentum, doesn't it, Greg? Like he was going to make that pass fairly easy, but he wasn't quite able to get it done before they got to the chicane. So for Ben Gloddy, still leading the way, coming over the crest of the hill and looking at that gap to Gus Rodeo, who just went 156 flat, fastest lap of the race. They're closing in. This would be very interesting if those three can get up to these two and mix things up again, because at this point in the championship, Benjamin Gloddy needs a couple riders between himself and Ty Scott to try to make up some of these this 16-point deficit currently in this SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior Cup Championship. So Gus Rodeo feeling it at the moment. Oh, and see, that's it. It's that tip-in spot. You can't really tell where the apex of the corner is, Greg, when you're tipping in. So sometimes you can get the bike turned and all of a sudden you've got it in there a little bit too tight, or you've turned the bike a little bit too much and you find yourself almost running over that inside curbing. And Ty Scott did a nice job there of standing that bike back upright. And here's that battle for third between Rodeo, Lamandry Jr., and Colstad. Gus Rodeo, 16 years old, from New Jersey, has been on the podium one time this season. That was a win. So Rodeo looking for another chance to step up on the podium. Hannah, what you got on Gus Rodeo?
Well, he also was one of the riders that sat out that qualifying 2 this morning because of the damp conditions. He didn't think he'd be able to go any faster today than he did yesterday. Missing those laps is tough because he's looking to make up some more time, especially for this race. They did make a gearing change. They found kind of a happy medium between last year's settings and then settings from practice yesterday, and it seems to be working for him. He did improve in Sector 3 over last year, and he can maneuver through the chicane better because he's about 30 pounds heavier this year than last year. So the bike is improved, but he's also getting a little bit more leverage on the motorcycle because he's still growing.
So good news for Gus Rodeo in terms of that department, but bad news in terms of he lost the position to Bazooka Joe Lamandry. But Ben Gloddy continues to lead the way. He's got a 1/10 of a second over his championship rival, Ty Scott. And you got to look back a little further, Greg, because in this battle for third, David Colstad's now got into the 55s, 55.9. That group behind is trying their best to catch up, and almost saw Gloddy look back there as he came out of turn 4. And you're right, he would love for these guys to engage in this battle a little bit, maybe get some people between him and Ty Scott. But Ty Scott has a very high racing IQ. He's going to know what's going on around him at all times. And right now, he's just kind of doing some chasing and following and trying to figure out where might be the best place to get by the 72 of Benjamin Gloddy. But that other three, look at them, Greg. It looks like they really are starting to catch up to these guys. Yeah, we're seeing splits on our timing and scoring screen that shows fastest lap of the race now goes to David Colstad. He's dropped that down to 1:55.9, a couple tenths of a second off of Ben Gloddy's pole setting time at a 1:55.4. So David Colstad on the move, and he's doing it in a little bit of a draft behind Rodeo and Lamandry last time by. The lead is now 1.3 seconds to Tyler Scott. So Colstad makes a move around Rodeo. Oh, boy, that looked like a moment for Rodeo on the front end. It did. And he's in a good spot, though, as they head up over that hill. If he can kind of get in the draft of those other two bikes, this is the one spot on the track where you'll really be able to tell
as far as drafting goes, this is a good spot for these smaller bikes. Nobody makes any position changes as they roll up there. Lamandry now is taken to that point. He just ran his fastest lap of the race at a 56.001. So really close also to getting into that 55 range for the number 62 there. And he's got his head down. I mean, right now when they came across, Greg, they did gain 2/10 on that last lap. It was at 1.4. Now it's at 1.2. And it looks like Lamandry Jr. has closed even more this lap.
On the charge, Joseph Lamandry Jr. trying to reel in these two and make it a three-way battle for the top step of the podium. Can he drag Colstad and Rodeo with him?
Well, you can see he's opened up a gap on the guys even behind him a little bit. That first split, he has gone purple. So he's gone purple on our screen, which is the fastest split of the race as far as split number 1 goes. And he gained 2/10 on the leaders in the front. The other two guys are doing their best to try to go with him.
And this kind of begs the question, is Ty Scott being a little cagey here, just trying to put pressure on Gloddy and see if Gloddy makes a mistake? Because if he thinks he has a nice, comfortable gap back to third place, it might work out for him that way. But all of a sudden now you have Lamandry, who is on the charge, and he's going to close it up. And if Lamandry, the 62, can hold on to this momentum and keep it going, we could find him leading this race in just a moment, because he's there now.
Oh, he's going to be leading this race if he can start to draft up to these guys for sure. 62 has done a really good lap here. This might be quickest lap of the race. He's gone purple and then green. Easily going to be the fastest lap of his race as he goes up alongside for second place, Greg, down into turn number 1. He's going to get up underneath Scott, so he makes quick work as he goes 55.2 on that lap, which is quicker than pole position set by Benjamin Gloddy. So Joe Lamandry Jr. on the move very hard right now.
The Boss Racing, CyberSafe Solutions, JL62 Racing, Kawasaki rider, Bazooka Joe Lamandry from Garden City, New Jersey, on a charge right now. Doesn't care what Ben Gloddy has going on in this championship or Ty Scott. He is going for it. He's got a win in his sights. A 55.2, fastest lap of the race. Colstad goes 55.6, his fastest lap of the race behind him.
He's got a run right here, too, on Gloddy as they roll up over the top of the hill. He's not going to be quite close enough, but now Colstad has joined that party, as well as Gus Rodeo. So now we have 5 guys at the front, and Lamandry's going to be credited for really bringing those other 2 guys along with him at the pace that he was running. And Gloddy, if he looks back, Greg, he's going to see a different rider behind him.
So just like that, Benjamin Gloddy still leading, but Joseph Lamandry off the fastest lap of the race has worked himself into second place with Ty Scott in third. And here is how it happened just moments ago, Jason.
Yeah, you're going to see he got a good run coming out of that last corner and was able to draft the 70 as they come down that front straightaway and put himself in a nice position to roll up underneath Scott into turn 1, and now it's head down to try to go catch 72. Now they're in that last part of the lap again, Greg, last corner. I would expect to see him possibly do the exact same thing, and even more so, this could help Ty Scott as well get a double bike draft. Gloddy, if he's not careful, might find himself third by the time they get up to turn 3.
Here we go down the front straightaway. Is Lamandry going to have the drive to make the pass? You can hear some bikes bouncing off of rev limiters. No, so they're going to fall into order. Gloddy, Lamandry, Scott, Colstad, Rodeo. Hannah?
Well, in talking to Tyler Scott this morning, he said if Ben leads, he's going to just latch on and follow. He doesn't think he has quite the pace to pull away here this weekend, but he's confident he can make some good heavy braking passes to try to pull off the win. You know, he said he wasn't really worried about other riders or focused so heavily on the championship. He just wanted to finish in front of Ben. I'm sure he was definitely not expecting Joseph Lamandry Jr. to be up there, so that's probably throwing a bit of a wrench in his plans today.
Yeah, definitely. He kind of foiled the plans at the moment. And look at Bazooka Joe, side by side, not quite, but looks like.
Look at Colstad. Colstad now takes an attack mode and gets up underneath Scott.
This is what I was
talking
about.
As they roll down there, and you're exactly right. This is what this championship maybe needs right now. So, you know, this is the thing, though, about Tyler Scott. I like he's going to just kind of look at what guys are doing here, see what's happening in front of him. He's not going to panic. But Colstad now tries to get, look at, oh, I thought Scott was going to have another go right back at him. Not quite close enough.
Yeah, but this also is taking Scott out of striking distance. I mean, there's still a lot of time, a lot of miles left in the race with about 2.5 to go, especially for these bikes. But Jason, right now, I'll tell you what, Ben Gloddy's bike looks fast. I mean, whatever gearing they chose, it looks to be spot on. But Lemandry Jr. is there. He reeled him in. He has the pace. The question becomes, does he feel by following Gloddy that he's got the pace to pull away from Gloddy or just put himself under fire?
Oh, no, Gus Rodeo. He goes through too, so good to see Gus Rodeo. We saw him at Brainerd just kind of sticking on the back of those guys. He makes a run at the KTM rider as well. He bumps himself up to 4th. But when you said earlier, Greg, about some of these bikes being on the limiter, and you know, you can hear it in our telecast too, when they get to the end, you hear that noise. That's when these guys are in the draft. And if Gloddy has the gearing to kind of keep rolling away from them, that's going to help him stay ahead if these guys are in the limiter drafting behind him and not being able to slingshot past. Look at Colstad. Now he has a great run on Lemandry as they head up towards turn 3.
And these two riders can't mess about for too long. They got to keep Gloddy in sight, because with less than 2 laps to go, you don't want to give a big gap to Ben Gloddy, because he is not prone to making mistakes in these latter laps of the race. But it is Benjamin Gloddy, the number 72, on that Landers Racing Kawasaki Ninja 400. Lemandry Jr. behind him. And then you have David Colstad, who talks about it all the time, his Veloce Racing team, and what a great job they're doing. Gus Rodeo on the Rodeo Racing Ninja 400. And then your championship points leader, Tyler Scott, on the Scott-powered KTM RC390R. As Scott makes an aggressive move around Rodeo, he understands the urgency of the situation and what it means to lead this championship. He doesn't want to give up too many points. It's been so tight all year long at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, though. He knows what's happening up in front of him, and he also knows that Gloddy's going to have a fight on his hands with the 62 and with Colstad as well. So both Lemandry Jr. and Colstad applying that pressure. It's going to allow Ty Scott to kind of pick his poison of when he wants to get through these guys. Did you see how fast Gloddy was through that chicane?
Yes.
He was so fast. Colstad now goes up underneath Lemandry Jr. This is only going to help that guy at the front. As you can see, he's able to clean his way through that last corner. These two guys are going to go side by side. That's going to allow the KTM rider to double draft down the front straightaway.
Here comes Scott. He sees his championship rival Gloddy off into the distance. No love lost between those two riders. Scott, man, it might be that KTM bouncing off the limiter.
It could be, you know, because it just doesn't look like he had the pace to even draft up to those two guys. And then obviously we hear that limiter every single time. And Rodeo now in the draft of the KTM as they go up into turn 3. And I hear limiter again. So you might be right, Greg. Ty Scott very late on the brakes. He gets that little KTM backed in. He at least wants to get on the podium and try to not get too much damage to his championship.
On this final lap, Ben Gloddy has a look over his shoulder to see that he's got a couple bike lengths between himself and his next competitor, as now Lemandry Jr. has got to think about what he's going to do. Another podium. Does he want to finish second, or is he going for the top spot?
Look for Ty Scott to maybe try to work on Colstad here in that same area, that turn 11 area. He's going to roll through all of here. And then out of this next left into the next right, he's been pretty strong, Greg. So we'll see if he's able to do anything. Is he going to get there? Yep, he's trying to get there. And he makes that pass for third. So Ty Scott gets himself up to third as he rolls up underneath Colstad in turn number 11. Now he's got those two guys in front of him. I think if they don't get by Gloddy in the chicane, Lemandry Jr.'s got to try to do something here because Gloddy's just too fast in the middle of this chicane.
Lemandry Jr. only participating in 2 races so far this season. No podiums for him in SportbikeTrackGear.com. Junior Cup is looking ahead of him. A couple bike lengths between himself and first place. And Colstad now, he stuffs the points leader on this final corner. Ben Gloddy is going to come out onto the front straightaway in a full tuck, head towards the checkered flag. And it looks like Colstad made a good move. Here comes the checkered flag, and Ben Gloddy with another win. Lemandry Jr. in second. Colstad will take third. Tyler Scott holding on to fourth, and Gus Rodeo in fifth.
How about this? This is Jack Roach trying to hold off Kayla Yaakov, who's done a tremendous job getting herself up to 7th. She is going to try to draft past, and she does it. Kayla ends up 6th. What a result from her today.
Great job by Yaakov to finish 6th with Roach in 7th. Max Van in 8th, and Eli Brock, who had a 5-second jump start penalty earlier, the 92 in 9th. Race pace, and this is what we see in SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior Cup. Normally, those fastest laps of the race come late in the race. A 55.9. A 55.2 will go to Lamandry Jr., who will have the fastest lap of the race. What a race we had. We will step away. When we come back, we're going to talk to Ben Gloddy and find out how it went for him under enormous pressure.
As we take back over here just a second, the Landers Racing Kawasaki, Ben Gloddy with the victory. And I'm Robbie Floyd with Roger Hayden. Roger, the thoughts. I felt that Gloddy might have had a little something for him there, and he did just that. But I think it was more of a mechanical thing. It sure looked like, and I know we heard it coming down the straight, but I saw it on the other end of the track that it looked like that KTM was running out of gear.
Yeah, it looked like, especially into turn 1, we could hear somebody bouncing off the limiter. But all these runs, like into turn 3, it really looked like they could make big runs on him toward the end. So I'm not sure if he was running out of gear. It's what it looked like on the TV. But what a good ride by Joseph Lamandry. Pulled that group up there to get to battle for, the top 2 guys. And it was smart. Colstad, Rodeo, and Lamandry, they didn't get in a huge battle and slow each other up. They kind of worked together and caught that group. And then, from there, every man was for himself. And good ride by Colstad. Put a good pass on that last corner. Gus Rodeo rode great, and Joseph Lamandry I was really impressed with his ride, and then also Kayla Yaakov. I mean, top 6.
Jack Roach not going to be happy. He got ghosted on that front straightaway, and I promise you, there's nothing worse than being on lack of power on a straight like that and have somebody just ghost you, right next to you. You can't do anything about that.
She came from
pretty deep.
She came from pretty far back, to be honest, and it was definitely, you could see that the power. I mean, Kayla got a good run, but you could also kind of see the power advantage or disadvantage. So
best finish of the year, though.
He's going to be disappointed for him to get 7th. I know he wants to do a little better than that, but Kayla rode great, and what a great race we had.
So Gloddy and Lamandry, they're pumping each other up, and Ben. We saw this last year when we had, Dominic Doyle and Sam Lockoff, trying to get up there with Rocco Landers. Rocco needed some help at times. That help was Ben Gloddy. You know what? This year, Ben Gloddy needs the help to get up with Ty Scott, and he's got it in Joe Lamandry and David Colstad today. We're going to be near dead even, single digits going into tomorrow, and, not too many races left in this season. It's going to be a tight one.
No, not at all. And also, if you would have think Cody Wyman would have not crashed, he would have been in that group too, so it could have maybe even been even more points. But I would assume that Tyler Scott and his guys are going to make some changes overnight. We see him some days when he gets second, when he gets second on that Sunday, come out and just be, have that grit and really come out and lay out some good lap time. So I expect him to bring out a good fight tomorrow. But he had Ben Gloddy had a great points day today.
Gus Rodeo. Also, you see the immediacy in Tyler Scott when he put that pass on Gus Rodeo too. Rodeo was ahead of him too. A strong run, but just off that podium.
Yeah, great ride for him. He's really shown some consistency this year, always pretty much in the top 5 or in that battle for the top 5, and, was caught up to the top group, did a good job, like I said, not getting in a big battle, all of them staying together. And once he got in there, he tried to make some moves, but it just looked like the last couple laps he just couldn't really make any more time up.
Ty Scott's only finished off the podium 1 time this year prior to this race. That was at the first ridge where he finished 4th. He's going to finish 4th again today. Ben Gloddy still kind of keeping it rolling. He has not finished off the podium. Consistency wins championship. He's doing his part.
He's been really consistent. And even some of the races we've seen this year, whenever Tyler Scott was quite a bit quicker than him in practice and qualifying, every time the race came, he always steps up and be there for the battle.
I normally let you point out my inaccuracies. I do see that at MotoAmerica 2, and I wasn't at that race, Ben Gloddy was not on the podium. That's his only time not on the podium, though. Joe Lamandry, he's got things to look forward to. He's got tomorrow to look forward to, but also New Jersey. I know Michael Hill was up in here. He said, I don't think he's ever been on the podium, and I remember it's that same type of celebration we saw. He's heading to his home track. He's can really build that momentum.
Especially after today. He's got to be beaming with confidence headed into New Jersey, so hopefully he can have another good race and then head to this home track.
Yeah, a lot of jubilation there for Joe Lamandry out of Garden City, New York. Boss Racing, CyberSafe Solutions, JL62. But Ben Gloddy, still your winner.
Today's Junior Cup race coverage has been sponsored by Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car or motorcycle insurance. And by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
You like fresh 1960 World Series Game 7, bottom of the 9th. Bill Mazeroski does it over the Yankees. But in this race, Jason, these passes, what a race we had.
Really great race. Really, really great race. It was good to see Colstad there, not just willing to settle. He passed for third place and getting on that podium. So, but Ben Gloddy, big win for him and getting a couple guys between him and Tyler Scott. Good for championship.
Championship, big question, but 0.3 of a second, the margin of victory for Gloddy over Lemandry Jr. An unbelievable ride for Colstad. But Tyler Scott bumped all the way back to 4th in this one. Let's get right down to Hannah with our winner, Ben Gloddy.
Well, Greg, this is Benjamin Gloddy's 12th podium of the season and his 4th victory. Ben, what does this victory mean in terms of confidence for you as you continue to charge toward this championship with only 5 races left?
You know, this is a big boost of confidence, and I want to keep this momentum rolling. You know, we started it at BIR, and, you know, we still got it. So I wouldn't have been able to do it without Fast by Faraci, the Big S, my whole Landers Racing crew, Tarl, Jamie, everybody, Stoney. I can't do it without American Super Camp and Penguin Racing School. Everybody, thank you.
Good to see a big smile on Ben Gloddy's face, guys.
One of the greatest sights in racing is to watch that kid smile after a win. I'm telling you.
Yes.
It really is. It's
He's
awesome.
great. No, and we've seen him upset. All these guys, I mean, once they get the taste of being on the podium and especially winning, they want to do that all the time. So really nice to see him do as well as he did today.
Let's get right back down to Hannah with our 2nd place finisher.
We've seen Joe Lemandry Jr. sporadically throughout this season. Your best finish was 5th. This is the 2nd podium of your career and a career best finish, 2nd place. What was it that was really working for you out there during that race?
Well, first off, I got to give a huge shout out to the CyberSafe Solutions Boss Racing 62 team. They really put work in this week to get this bike dialed in. And the beginning of the weekend wasn't looking too promising, but we kept working. We got the suspension setup dialed, and I just felt really confident going in, and I just rode as hard as I knew I could. And I got behind Ben, just stayed behind him as much as I could, and screwed up in the last turn, but still got P2. So just huge shout out to Heroic Racing Apparel, Boss Racing, CyberSafe Solutions, Evolve GT, Arai Helmets, and everyone else who's been supporting us. Big shout out to my dad, Anthony Corbo, Pablo, and Uda. Thanks, guys.
Congratulations. Today's 2nd place finisher, Joe Lemandry Jr. for our STG Junior Cup.
I love it. It's so cool, and I think that Joe's a young guy that I wish that we could see him at every race. I know we're going to be seeing him in Jersey, but he is really coming to his own, and to get that P2 today and thanking all those people to help get him there, really nice work.
Let's get right down to Hannah.
7th podium of the season for David Colstad, 3rd place today. Pretty intense last lap for you, putting a lot of pressure on Tyler Scott there. How were you able to get around him and secure this 3rd place?
I'd been kind of setting that move up for a couple of laps, testing the drive out of the chicane, and that last lap before Tyler got me, I was trying to pull it on Joseph, but things didn't quite play out that way. So, but I lucky enough to pull the shot on Tyler, and it worked out. But first off, I can't thank my team enough. Owens and KFG Suspension, they have this bike dialed. Now all I got to do is put it where Ben is. No hassle, Ben. But you know, everyone behind me, got Pete Warmers. They're keeping my tires fresh 24/7 when I'm ready for the race. Cycle Tune, those guys help out so much. My mechanic Tim does so much for the bike. My crew chief Nobisu, he's helped me so much with my mental and working on my riding. Definitely, I couldn't do it without these guys. Vercoast leathers, Arai helmets. These guys are keeping me safe when I fall down, and the whole team.
Congratulations to David Colstad, rounding out our STG Junior Cup podium, guys.
Absolutely love it. The intensity, the work ethic, and the big smile when you get on the podium. Great ride for him.
Absolutely great ride. And I think the best thing for David today is that he showed that he could be there at the end with the leaders. So this could play into tomorrow, and maybe we see him get his 1st victory.
Your point standings, 4 points now between Tyler Scott and Benjamin Gloddy. It was 16. Man, this championship is absolutely on fire in SportbikeTrackGear.com. You're going to want to check it out in our race that's coming up after this. Well, it was an entertaining race. Can't wait to see what happens tomorrow. For Hannah and Jason, I'm Greg. Bye-bye.